guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Alicia. If this is your first time here, and if not, welcome back. All right, so I am doing like a house hunting series. I really don't know how many parts of it is going. There's going to be, I think there might be 3, and then I'm gonna cut that and go into the actual decorating the house. But I did part 1 where I showed you guys one day that we went out and did house hunting. It was actually like a weekend thing. That was our most recent house hunting phase. We actually have been house hunting since December. That was the most recent one. Fast forward to, if you guys can't tell, we found a house. We found a house and we actually sold our house. So we're closing old and new house on the exact same day. So hence all of the boxes and all that kind of stuff behind me. So told you guys that I was going to do a Q&A. I mentioned the question box, or I put the question box on my Insta story a couple of weeks ago. This is me answering them. I want to say, I have a pad with all of them. I want to say I only picked like 8 to 10 just because I didn't want this to be a super long video, and I really wanted to give as much information as I possibly knew. This will be me and my husband's 3rd house that we're buying. So I kind of wanted to give a lot of information, but I didn't want this to be past like 30 minutes because I don't watch any video over 30 minutes. I know my time span. So have all the questions in here. I'll make sure that I put a table of contents in the description box so that you'll know about what question is coming up on when in the video. So if you want to like skip past and get to like your certain question, you can definitely use that as a reference. So let's just get into it. All right, question number 1, the best credit for home buyers and the best down payment percentage in this market, because, and I think it's kind of sort of settling itself out depending on where you are or where you're living. But I think it's kind of like settling it out, but it was very much a seller's market. And so when they said that the buyers had to have all their ducks in a row, it was you had to have all your ducks in a row. Before, when you were just buying a house, especially if you were going FHA, they only required a 620 and you were putting down anywhere between 3 to 5%. That same percentage does still apply, so you can definitely get a 3 to 5% down payment. However, in order to be competitive in this market, because some people are putting cash down, you need to have a conventional loan. And a conventional loan just basically says that your credit was better to qualify for a conventional loan. Most of the time the rate's a little bit better than an FHA loan. So I personally, if you wanted to be competitive and you wanted to get into the house that you're looking for, I would go conventional. And if you're looking conventional, the better your credit is, the better your interest rate is going to be. So I would be looking to be in the 7s to 750s, and then that way you can get a really great conventional interest rate loan, not really having to worry about too many like points or anything like that. If what I'm telling you is a little confusing to you, go ahead and reach out to someone to get pre-approval, because down payment and rates and all that kind of stuff, that definitely matters, and someone who's in the mortgage like industry can better explain it for you than I can. All right, on the subject of that, next question, is it still a seller's market? Question mark. Is it still a good idea to purchase in a seller's market versus a buyer's market? It is still, even though I feel like it's trying to settle down a little bit, especially with them hiking interest rates up, it still is kind of sort of very much a seller's market, in that you're probably going to be paying at least the price of the house listed, if not more, and then you're probably not going to get a lot of credits. So when we decided to buy that, like the house that we're buying, we went over asking because we knew that it was going to be competitive, and we're not asking for any closing costs, just simply because it's a seller's market and they don't have to pay a dime. The house, our house, they paid the price that we listed it for, and they didn't ask for any closing costs, just simply because it's a buyer's market. Like our house was on the market for less than 24 hours. And so it is definitely very much a seller's market. I apologize if I said buyers. It's definitely very much a seller's market than it is a buyer's market. Is it a good idea to purchase a house right now? If you absolutely do not have to buy a house right now, I would say wait a little while. Only because the market is eventually going to stabilize. I don't know when. There are even some experts that say they don't know when it'll eventually settle down, but at least you won't be in a situation where you'll be bidding with a lot of other people, because they'll probably still trying to buy a house now, or they'll probably come to a situation where, hey, we're not going to be able to buy. Let's just stay where we are for a couple of years. So if you can avoid buying in the next 6 to 10 months, then I would say wait. However, for us, when we have a kid on the way, and then 2, when we had decided that we were going to start a family, I don't want my kids, if I can help it, if God, you know, grants me that, my prayer, I don't want my kids to be that far apart from each other. So I'm not trying to have a kid now and then wait 7 years later and have another kid. I'm really trying to do, but I'm not trying to have the 2 under 2. So I'm like in between that 7 years apart and the 2 under 2 is what we're trying to have, like the happy medium. So I wanted to go ahead and move. That way we can go ahead and get settled. Kid can go ahead and get used to their room and all that kind of stuff before we then have to try for another kid. So that was our main reason for moving ASAP, is because we have the kid on the way, and I kind of want to do the back to almost back when it comes to having kids. So if you don't have to, don't. If you do, make sure your ducks are in a row and be prepared to either pay for the full listing price and not really have that basically little to no closing credit, because I know people that have bought a house, I know people that have sold a house, they're not giving a dime. All right, next up, quick ways to pay off debt. Create a budget, and create yes, you should create a realistic budget, but your budget should also push you to be better. When I say, if you're used to going out, spending $300 eating out, that should not be on your budget moving forward. You see what I'm saying? Like you should have a little strain when it comes to your budget, because every free dollar, every extra dollar should go towards paying off debt, especially if it's short-term debt. Short-term debt is debt that could impact your ability to be able to get a house. I'm talking credit cards, I'm talking medical bills, I'm talking about auto loans, and any other small term loans that you have. I'm not talking about long-term debt, which are basically student loans. Short-term debt, that's debt that affects your debt-to-income ratio, and that will affect how much house you're able to afford. So if you have $20,000 in credit card debt, if you have a car that you're paying off, if you got into some medical bills in college or after school before you were able to get insurance, those are the first things that you pay off. And that's what a mortgage company is going to tell you, that hey, you need to get rid of this short-term debt, because it really can impact where your income might say you can afford a $300,000 house, but because of your debt, now they're saying you probably can only afford a $220,000 house. That short-term debt definitely can cause a havoc. So I definitely say get a budget, stick with your budget, and under no circumstances, because I've seen people do this before, please don't do this. Under no circumstances do you go into your 401k to get a loan or withdraw to pay down your debt, to make a down payment on a car, to make a down payment on a house. Leave it alone. I've seen a lot of people that have done that, and the finance part of me just doesn't understand. Don't do it. If that's the difference between you buying the house and not buying a house, wait until you are actually able to afford the down payment in cash rather than going into your 401k. So definitely getting a budget and then making sure that you're following that budget is one of the quickest ways to pay down debt. Some people get a budget and they're on the budget for like January, February, and then March comes, they fall off, and they forget that you can pick back up in April. But they fall off in March, and then it's just like a snowball effect. Before you know it, it's December, and you had more debt now than you did in January and February. So just make sure that you stay on a budget. If you happen to fall off, give yourself a little bit of grace, but don't let yourself continue to do the snowball effect of getting off of your budget. All right, number 4. Any tips for first-time home buyers? How do you know when you're ready to buy? So me and my husband, we got married in 2013. Yes, we bought our first house in 2014. And we knew we were ready because we were at the point where my husband's one of those people where he feels like he's wasting money when he's renting. I don't know why. I don't think that, especially if you're in a city where you know you're not going to be there very long, or you just don't know what area you're going to buy, you don't know what your finances are going to look like, whether that's your job is up in flux, or if you know you want to pivot out of your career into something else, you might have to start over to another entry-level positions. There's so many other reasons why renting doesn't feel like a waste. But we knew that when we got married that we wanted to buy a house within 6 months, and so we immediately started saving. We opened up a checking and a savings account when we first got engaged. We actually got engaged in 2012. Opened up a checking and a savings account, and we said, okay, this is the amount of house that we wanted to buy. We did 5% of that, although we ended up actually only putting down 3%. But we said, okay, 5% of this amount of house is this. We knew that we wanted to buy a house. So we had this conversation back in like 2012, the latter part. So we said between now and then, that gave us like, I want to say 14 months is what I want to say. Yes, we said 14 months is when we want to be able to start looking for houses. So we took our down payment, divided by 14, and then divided by 2. And that was the amount of money that each of us put into that savings account every single month, like clockwork. And so that when it came time for us to start looking and buying the house, we didn't have to worry about where our down payment was coming from. And it was good that we actually saved 5%, because we put down 3, and then the other 2 we were able to like buy decor for the house, be able to pay for movers to move us from our townhouse into our actual house. And so that's the main thing, is to start saving money to be able to do a down payment. Whether you want to do 3% or you want to do 5%, go ahead and start saving that. But then also save for stuff that might come up. You're transferring your utilities. Is there a fee? You're also going to have to move. Do you want to pay for someone to pack, or are you going to move yourself? My advice to you is please don't move yourself. Like, it's okay if you pack yourself, but don't move yourself, because you don't want to get into the house and you're already frustrated because you've been moving all day. Incorporate moving costs into that. Do you want to buy furniture? How much furniture do you want to buy? Where do you want to get it from? All that kind of stuff. So it's all of those details that you want to make sure you're saving for. And how we knew we were ready was that we knew that we were at least going to, 1, be in Birmingham for the next 5 years. We had already said that. And then 2, we were in our careers. We were happy in our careers. We didn't see a pivot. So I didn't see a big change. I wasn't going anywhere in my career. Husband didn't see a big change. He wasn't going anywhere in his career. So there was nothing that, unless the bottom fell out of our industries, that was going to cause us to lose our income. We also made the decision, and we've done that with every house that we buy, is that we make sure that one person's income can afford the mortgage. Some couples aren't able to do this. A lot of couples aren't able to do this, but this is just something that we wanted to do, so that in case the bottom does fall out of the finance industry and I'm let go, or the bottom fell out of the sales industry and he's let go, that our house is not affected, that we are able to pay for our mortgage and our utilities based off of one person's income. And that was one of the main things that we decided to do as a married couple, even going into our third house, is that we wanted to make sure that regardless on what happened with either of our incomes, that one person's income would be able to sustain the household. We might be house broke, so there might not be a lot of trips and there might not be a lot of bags coming through, but at least we don't have to worry about foreclosure and selling our house or short selling our house because of one person's income. So that's just a note that you guys didn't ask for, but I decided to give you anyway. All right, number 5, would you ever do real estate investments / having an investment property? Yes, and that is actually why we changed the way we did our mortgage, our third house. So the last 2 houses that we've had, we've both been on the mortgage as normal. And then this house, because in the perfect world, well, not in a perfect world, we were supposed to be in Florida this year. We had went last year, looked at properties, looked at land, met with a real estate agent, made plans. I had talked to my manager, even though he doesn't really care, but I know that there's tax implications when we're going from Alabama to Florida because there's no state taxes. So just having to like talk that through with my manager. We had the whole thing down packed, and then we got pregnant, right? And then we decided that if we take our kid and move to Florida, our family was going to be really, really pissed. And I recognize that even though I try to be Wonder Woman and Superwoman and all those things, I'm going to need a lot of help with this first kid, because I feel like I have a plan, but then there's a plan and then the kid comes and you're like, what's going on? So we decided to stay, but we also knew that we visit Florida entirely too much to not have something down there for us to visit. So we decided that with this next house, only one of us was going to be on the mortgage, and that way the other person can take their credit, their income, their DTI, debt to income ratio, and buy a condo in Florida, Airbnb it out while we're not there. But then when we go down there, we have somewhere to stay, so we're not forking out literally thousands of dollars a year renting Airbnbs to stay in Florida for a week or for a couple days or for a few days. So that's why this year will be our first investment property. So one of us is on the mortgage, and then one of us is going to buy the property in Florida. So this will be our first investment property. So y'all pray for us. All right, next question. Tips for purchasing a new home while trying to sell your current home. I can speak to this directly because that is exactly what we did. And what I will say is check your neighborhood. And so one thing that we did is that we saw that the houses around our neighborhood were not staying up for a weekend. They would go up on a Friday, under contract on Sunday or Monday. So the houses in our neighborhood were not staying up that fast. We're downtown, yeah, we're in the suburbs, so we're in a very, very prime location for a lot of people that are looking to stay downtown but not stay in a condo. And so because of that, we realized, hey, our house is gonna sell fast. Let's focus on getting the house that we want to move to, and then we can put our house on the market. And so we found the house that we wanted after months of searching and trying, and legit in a span of a week and a half, our realtor met with us, filled out forms, filled out contracts, hired a photographer, had someone come out and do the photography, edit the photos up. Like within the span of a week and a half, our house went from nothing to on the market. And that is the point in hiring a good quality realtor, because they know what they're doing. And one, yes, our realtor is a friend of ours, a really good friend, but he's also awesome at his job. And so he bought us this house. Well, he sold us his house, so he's also selling this house for us, and then he's with us on our third house. So I like to keep that kind of friendship going. So definitely check out your market to see what the houses in your neighborhood, like how long they're lasting, and then that determines how long you can go before you start to put your house on the market. I would try to like find the house, especially if the houses are going pretty fast, which most houses are, to be honest with you, unless you're just like not in a good area. Most houses are going pretty fast. Like if they're not going pretty fast, either the house isn't in good staging condition or you have your house overpriced. One of the two. So we focused on finding our house first, and then once we were there, we were under contract. All right, we got a week and a half, and we were able to put a contingency in the house that we're buying that, hey, you have to give us, I don't know, I think we said a week or 2 weeks. I want to say 2 weeks just to have a contract up on our house, which they were okay with that. So, because they weren't giving us anything else, but they were okay with that. So that would be my advice to you. Next question, did you align the closing dates for the sale of the old and new purchase of your home? Yes, we were able to do that just simply because our new house, and I don't want to get into it, but I thank God for blessings and I thank God for financial overflow, but I was unaware that when you get to a certain house size or like a certain house price, that 3 to 5% no longer applies. It don't, and it's just like, no ma'am, that 3 to 5% is like 15 to 20%. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. They call it just Google jumbo conventional loan. And that's where we are with this third house. And the reason why we aligned it is because we were taking the proceeds from this house. We're taking all those proceeds and we're literally putting them into the down payment on the new house. So the good thing is that we're not technically having to come out of pocket for that. The bad news is that we thought we were going to be able to do a little something, maybe buy a little bag, maybe do a little traveling with the proceeds of this house and still be able to move into the third house. No ma'am, not at all. It's literally going from one lawyer's office, a check, and then it's going to the next lawyer's office. So we did that on purpose so that we don't physically like have to go into our savings account to get that 15 to 20%, but it's really going from like old to new house. Just Google jumbo conventional loan in your off time. I don't want to talk about it because it hit me like a slap of bricks. I mean, I'm over it now because I love the house I'm moving to, but it was like, oh, let me take everything out my cart from Saks because I ain't getting none of it. Next one is, how did you pick the area you bought your house in? What did you look for? The house that we bought that we're in now, I think we've picked different reasons for picking our houses, and this will be the third house that we bought in the Birmingham area, and none of them are like in the same neighborhood, same zip code, school zone, nothing. So we had different reasons for buying the houses that we did. Our first house that we bought, we just wanted to buy, we wanted to own something, we wanted to own a house. At the time, we were both working in the office, so we were both having to like commute, and so that house was in the middle of both of our commutes. The house that we're in now, we decided to sell our first house, move downtown because we really wanted to experience downtown life. I loved our first house, but we were like in a sea full of, like we were in a neighborhood full of people who had several kids. And it was a neighborhood where like every month they were doing kid things, and I'm like, we're 25 and 26. What are we doing out here? We have no kids. We have no plans on having kids anytime soon. Why are we here? So we sold that house and we moved to downtown because we wanted to experience the downtown life. Got down here and it's like, oh, I really want to stay downtown, but we don't want to rent. We don't want to rent anymore. And so that's why we have the house and we're here now, is that we're still downtown, but we're in the suburbs, and we're not having to be like stuck in like a condo or anything like that. Our third house that we're moving to, we wanted more space, and if we would have bought the house that we are moving to in the neighborhood that we're in now, it would be $1 million plus house, just simply because we're downtown, so houses down here cost a little bit more. But moving a couple of miles away, we were able to get the house that we wanted, a lot more house, more land, more grassy areas for the kids to be able to run around in. So that was our main thing. Really not focused on the school because we plan on being in Florida before the kids really start to go to school. Still wanted to be convenient for downtown. So we had our reasons. It's literally like every house we moved to, there's different reasons as to why we moved to those houses. Did you experience a bidding war that left you above appraisal value? No. I experienced a bidding war back when we first started house hunting in December or January, and I told myself I'm not getting in a bidding war again because the seller knew that he had multiple offers, and he was purposely doing, excuse my language, dumb shit because he knew that he had multiple offers on the table. And when our realtor called, he said, well, they want this and it's only this. I was like, you know what? This is a number and I'm done. I'm not going back with him. He can keep his little raggedy I was being wrong. He can keep his little raggedy house. And so when we didn't get it, I was like, I'm never doing a bidding war again. If that means I have to bow out, then that's God telling me that it's not my house. And so the house that we are moving into now, saw the house, loved the house. Our realtor said, hey, this is in a prime area. It's a custom built house. It was have one owner, and you know, they custom built it. And I was like, all right. He's like, this is the value you're gonna have to go over. I said, okay, this is our offer. I'm not doing any back and forth. This is it. I'm not doing any back and forth. This is the number. I was like, they can have whatever closing costs, whatever contingency. I don't want nothing. This is the offer. And we went over the list value with the understanding that it might not appraise for what we offered. Because like I said, we went over the list price. By God's grace, we actually are under the appraised value. So we're going in with equity in the house, which is not normally the case right now in the seller's market. So that is definitely something that if you're looking to buy, because this is a seller's market and houses are going for over the list price and you might get in a bidding war, that there might be the case where the house might not appraise for what you're asking. And then if that's the case, you really need to consult your realtor about that. But we're lucky that was not the case for us. So we are going into the house knowing full and well that the amount that we paid for it is a lot less than what the house appraised for. And it also makes us feel good that when we actually decide to go to sell it years and stuff from now, that we don't have to worry about not getting what we paid for in the house. Was verifying income from self-employment a hassle when applying for a mortgage? For me, it was not, simply because of the way that my self-employment is set up. So I have an LLC, I have an S Corp, and what an S Corp means is that you get paid an annual from that. So even though I am self-employed and LivinFearless LLC is all mine, I get a paycheck every single month from the business. And so at the end of the year, I had a W-2, I had any paycheck stubs you can pull from, and so when they asked for paycheck stubs, I was able to send them that. However, I know that's not the case for everybody. Some people just have like a general like freelancer income. Some people have a LLC, but it's a sole proprietorship. I don't know what those details can involve. I hear that it is definitely a lot more stringent on exactly what they're asking for. I know they probably ask for like income statements and balance sheets and all that kind of stuff. For me, it was relatively simple, just based on the structure of how I had the business was set up as an S Corp, and I get a paycheck stub, a paycheck every single month from my business. I decide every year how much I want to get paid. CPA puts it through the system, and then every month I get a good little paycheck, and that's mine. Towards the end of the month, I might give myself, or in the year, I might give myself a bonus. But for the most part, it was just as simple as me sending them my W-2 from my business, and then also my W-2 from my corporate 9-to-5 job. So not as hard or difficult as other people who freelance or other people who have an LLC, but it's set up as a sole proprietorship. Alright, so guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Like I said, I will make sure that I put like a table of contents in the description box that has the questions and then about where they are in the video. If you have reached this far in the video and you have not subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. Also click the notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. Check out part 3. It's coming soon. It's going to be an empty house tour. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next week. Goodbye.